You don't feel at home in the same spaces anymore. The conversations bore you. The jokes don't land. The goals feel shallow. You sit in the same room but feel like a stranger among people you once called friends. You're not arrogant, you're not broken. You've just outgrown the room. Growth isn't always celebrated. Sometimes it isolates you, because the more you understand yourself, the harder it becomes to pretend. You stop laughing at things that once made you chuckle. You stop agreeing with things that go against your values. And slowly, silently you begin to drift. Not because you wanted to leave, but because staying started to cost your peace. There's a unique kind of ache that comes from realizing you no longer belong where you once felt safe. You still care about the people, but the bond has changed. The rhythm is different. It's as if you're speaking a deeper language in a room that prefers surface level sound. Why you don't hang out as much? Why you're always thinking so deeply? And the truth is, you don't know how to explain it without sounding like you're looking down. But you're not. You've simply become someone who craves more. Not more attention, not more praise, but more truth, more alignment, more peace, more silence between the noise. And in that shift, you begin to feel alone. People say growth is beautiful, but they rarely mention that it's also lonely. As you grow, your frequency changes. Your interests evolve. Your questions get deeper. You start seeking meaning instead of approval, wholeness instead of validation. And suddenly, the things that once entertained you feel empty. It's not that you hate them, you've just expanded beyond them. But the world doesn't applaud quiet, it clings to sameness. So when you grow, others feel threatened. Not because you've changed too much, but because you've changed it all. And instead of celebrating your expansion, they pull away, or worse, try to pull you back. The same room that once comforted you now stifles your spirit. The people you once laughed with now question your silence. What was once connection now feels like conflict. That's because growth exposes contrast. You begin to notice the toxic jokes, the shallow gossip, the habits masked as fun but rooted in pain. You no longer have the energy to fake laugh, fake agree, or fake belong. You're not bitter, you're becoming aware, and that awareness creates friction. Because when you raise your standards, it forces others to look at their own. Some will grow with you, but many will resist and label you as too much or too different. But here's the truth, you're not too much, you're just not hiding anymore. Being misunderstood doesn't mean you're wrong. It means your truth no longer fits their framework. You're not obligated to shrink so others feel comfortable. Your softness, your reflection, your stillness, it's not weakness. It's depth, and depth intimidates people who are still swimming in the shallow. But here's the thing. You don't need to be understood to be aligned. You don't need validation to be at peace. Your clarity is not their responsibility. It's your birthright. Sometimes, the hardest person to leave behind isn't your friend group. It's your old self, the version of you that played small to be liked, that avoided conflict to keep the peace, that watered down your light so others wouldn't feel dim. But growth isn't just external. It's internal detachment from habits, from ego, from the stories that once kept you safe but now keep you stuck. To grow is to grieve who you used to be. Not with shame, but with gratitude, because that version of you carried you here. But now, it's time to walk forward without the weight. Standing alone isn't a punishment. It's preparation. There's sacredness in solitude, in not belonging, in walking alone, not because you have no one, but because you refuse to betray yourself to be accepted. It's easy to stay in rooms where you're but it takes courage to leave them in search of rooms where you're celebrated. You're not walking away from people. You're walking toward yourself. And that self, she's waiting in the silence, in the stillness, in the next room that only opens when you're brave enough to let the old one go. Eventually, new rooms appear. Rooms filled with curiosity, not criticism. People who ask better questions, conversations that expand you, friendships that feel like mirrors and anchors. You realize? You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people. But you had to leave to find that out. You had to risk loneliness to find alignment. The deeper you go into yourself, the more aligned the outer world becomes. Not immediately, but inevitably, because when you stop performing, the right people recognize the real you, and they've been waiting for you to. So if you feel distant, quiet, off balance, if you find yourself sitting in rooms that feel too small, it's not that you're broken, it's not that you're better, it's that you've outgrown what no longer fits. And growth isn't loss, it's a sacred disconnection that leads to deeper reconnection. You didn't change too much, you just became more of who you were meant to be. So walk forward, stand taller, leave the rooms that shrink you, and never apologize for becoming someone your old self didn't recognize. Comment, I've outgrown the room. Share this with someone silently drifting away from the old version of themselves. Subscribe to Be All Amets 58 for weekly reflections on growth, depth, and emotional clarity.